E-learning with NUT Endomodel Science School, MENA.
Good day, wonderful students of Year 9. Hope you're staying safe and observing all the safety precautions that there are. I'm Haruna, and together we're going to be looking at an aspect of basic science which has to do with chemistry. And our topic for today is elements, compound, and mixture. Elements, compounds, and mixture. Our learning objective, LO, include to identify an element, compound, and mixture, and their differences. Now, it's my sincere hope that all of you will be able to identify an element, compound, and mixture. It might also hope that most of you can describe the differences between an element, compound, and mixture after the lesson. And some of you, perhaps, may be able to recall some common elements and their symbols among the first 20 elements and even more. Now, this is the structure of an atom. You can see this is the central nucleus, where it contains neutrons and protons. These are shells or orbitals. And you can see the orbital has the word electron. So basically this is how an atom looks like. Now, what is an atom? Atom is tiny particles that makes up everything. Everything you see around you, okay, are made of tiny particles called atom. Those tiny particles, when they get together in millions, in billions, they give you different materials, different substances, but basically the building block of those materials is atom. Just like in terms of chemistry and physics, where atom is the building block. In terms of biology, they tell you that the building block is cell. So cell is the equivalent of an atom as far as chemistry is what? Chemistry and biology is concerned. Now, what is an element? An element is one type of an atom. One single kind of an atom. On its own, not joined together or joined to another atom of the same type. Meaning, I can join 6 atoms of hydrogen together, and it still will be called an element. I can join 8 atoms of oxygen together. It still will be called an element. In as much as I have not joined hydrogen and oxygen, then I still have my element as what? Intact. Now let's see. This is an element, and basically from the way the particles of these materials are packed closely, you know that this can be what? A solid, which is perhaps a metal, okay? Now, there are different types of, just like we have one type of atom joined together, sometimes you have different types of atoms joined together by a chemical bond. Now, when that happens, then it is no longer an element, but what? A compound. So a compound is a substance with different types of atoms joined together by a chemical bond. I take it again. A compound is a type of substance with different types of atoms joined together by a chemical bond. Without a chemical bond, you can't call it a compound. Okay? Now look at this. This is an example of sodium chloride, the common salt. You can see there are 2 atoms basically joined together by this bit like white line. Okay, so by this structure, this is actually a chemical compound called sodium chloride. But here you have 2 other substances. This is, yes, hydrogen, 2 molecules of hydrogen and 1 molecule of oxygen, and together they form what we call water. So basically this is not an element but what? Compound. Now let's see. From what we have said, looking at this picture, will you say this is an element or compound? You guessed correctly. This is an element because it is one type of atom. You can see they are all the same color. Even though there are many, but they are same color joined together. Okay? Now it's an element. Also, now you have 2 types of what? Atoms. The orange and the blue. Is this a compound or an element? No, this is a compound because it is made of more than one type of what? Atom. Now you have this as well. Is this an element or a compound? This is a compound because it is made of two different types of what? Atom. And you can see that that's correct. Now, is this an element or a compound? This is an element because it's the same type of what? Color, and the joining doesn't really matter here. It's when you have two different substances joined together by a chemical bond. Here you have the same type. So this is basically an element. Okay? Now, we have talked about element and compound. What is a mixture? Now, a mixture is different types of atoms or compounds that can be physically separated, meaning they are not chemically bonded together. There's no chemical bond. The difference between a compound and a mixture is that a mixture can be element or compound. However, without chemical bonds joining them together. Now let's see, is this a mixture or a compound? Or an element? You can see this is two different types of what? Atoms. From here you know this is already a compound. This is another two different, this is another two different. But these three different substances, these two are joined together, these two are joined together, these three are joined together. However, there is no link joining this and this and this. And because of that, this is a mixture, not a compound. Okay? Now let's see. You have to identify from A to F. Write them down in your book. Which one you think it's a compound, and the one you think is a mixture, and the one that you think perhaps is actually what? An element. So write them down carefully. A, you have B, you have C, you have D, you have E, and you have F. All you need to do is to identify which group they belong, either to the group of elements, the group of compound, or group of mixture. Yes, you are correct. You can see that the first one is what? Element, because it's the same type of atom. The second one is a mixture. Yes, because there is no bond bonding any two together. And even though there are two different substances, there is no bond that connects anyone. So this is certainly a mixture. This is another element, the same type of atom. This is a compound. You can see there's a union of this and this together. Even though you have three molecules of this compound, yes, it is actually a compound. This is a mixture because this is a compound, a different compound, a different compound. Two different atoms, two different atoms, two different atoms. So this is a mixture of what? Compounds, not a mixture of what? Atoms. Okay? This could be a mixture of atoms. Compound. This is a compound because they're joined together. But this is a compound of mixture. Then lastly, you also have a compound. Okay? Now, you have to identify, based on the knowledge of what you have been taught, these ions, what are they? Are they mixture? Are they compound? Or they are element? You have a cup of tea. Okay? You have a ventilator. You have a bottle of water. You have the ocean. You have the fire extinguisher. All you need to tell us is that, okay, this ion is either a compound, mixture, or element. The tea is a mixture, compound, or element. The ventilator, you just try to help us out with it. Okay? Draw and complete the table in your book in 10 minutes. Draw and complete this table in your books in 10 minutes. How will you go about it? Now you can see that here, it's what is going to be, what diagram is going to depict element? What diagram is going to depict what? Compound. And as you can see, this diagram has depicted what? Mixture already. One type of atom on its own or joined together, will it be a compound or an atom? Describe it. The same thing with this. Okay? Now, different types of atoms joined by a chemical bond. This gives you what? A compound. And you can see from the different pictures you're seeing there, it's giving you a clue as to what the compounds are. You can see concrete and cement being mixed together with water. Yes, that's correct. You can also see a picture of pure what? Gold. This is the symbol for gold. AU. Okay? Then you have water. You have this picture of just element. And then different types of atom or compound that can be physically separated, no chemical bond. So what you need to do for me is to separate this thing into two. First, the first group should be those types that what? That are joined together by chemical bond. Then the second one should be those types that are not joined together by chemical bond. Now, sodium chloride is a common salt or table salt. Is this a compound? Is this a mixture or element? You tell me. This is silver, a silver ring. Is it a compound, element, or mixture? This is an iron gate. Is this a compound, element, or mixture? This is air. The girl is blowing the air into the flower. Okay? And you tell us if the air is either a compound, mixture, or element. Okay? And now you're going to do this for me inside your book. Draw a gas compound, illustrating the same way we did earlier. Okay? Then you draw a solid element as your number 2. You draw a gas mixture as your number 3. And that is it. Okay? I hope you enjoyed the lesson. Stay blessed and God bless you all. See you in the next class. Thank you.